We're going, it helps if it's on. Call the meeting to order, May 13th, 2025, council meeting. In just a moment, if you would stand with me, the invocation will be given by Captain Blake Terry, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be given by Officer Deborah Williams. If you'd stand with me, please.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you for this day, God. We thank you, Lord, for every family that's represented here, Lord. We're thankful for the city of Villa Rica, Lord, the leaders, the employees, the residents, God. We're very blessed, everyone in this room, in so many different ways, God, and it's because of you, and we're thankful for that, Lord. I pray that tonight that everyone would honor you in all that we do and all that we say, God. I pray for those that have to make decisions, have to consider circumstances, God. I pray you'd give them wisdom, Lord, that wisdom that only you can provide, Father. Father, we pray, Lord, that most of all we would uplift you and you alone, Father. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Officer Deborah Williams has worked for the Villa Rica Police Department since June of 2023 on day shift patrol. However, her background in law enforcement began in Paulding County Jail as a corrections officer for 2 years. She comes from a family of law enforcement officers. Her husband, Trey Williams, is the chief of the Douglas County School System Police Department. She has 2 children, Dustin and Dylan. Thank you, Officer Blake Terry, and also Officer Williams, for doing the pledge and the prayer this evening. We have a couple special presentations to make, and first, this is National Police Week. So I'm going to read a proclamation. We'll recognize y'all. We're safe tonight. To recognize National Police Week 2025 and to honor the service and sacrifice of those law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty while protecting our communities and safeguarding our democracy. Whereas there are more than 800,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the Villa Rica Police Department. Whereas since the first recorded death in 1786, there are currently more than 24,000 law enforcement officers in the United States that have made the ultimate sacrifice and been killed in the line of duty, including 2 members of the Villa Rica Police Department. Whereas the names of these dedicated public servants are engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Office Memorial in Washington, D.C., whereas new names of fallen heroes are being added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial this spring, including officers killed in 2024 and officers killed in previous years. Whereas the service and sacrifice of all officers killed in the line of duty will be honored during National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund's 37th Candlelight Vigil on the evening of May 13th, 2025, whereas the Candlelight Vigil is part of National Police Week, which will be observed this year, May 11th through the 17th. Whereas May 15th is designated as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of all fallen officers and their families, and U.S. flags should be flown at half-staff. Therefore, be it resolved that the City of Villa Rica will hereby observe May 11th through the 17th as National Police Week in Villa Rica, and publicly salute the service of law enforcement officers in our community and in the communities across the nation.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. I appreciate the proclamation. As the mayor stated, we've had 2 officers in Villa Rica that were killed in the line of duty, and their pictures are on the back wall. The building's named after them. Ples Holt was killed in, I think, 1908. He was a marshal in Villa Rica. And then Robbie Bishop was a captain with Villa Rica, and he was killed in January of 1999. And so we remember them, we honor them for the sacrifice that they gave, but we also remember our ladies and gentlemen now that work every day out here and risk their lives for our citizens, and we appreciate them. We appreciate their families for allowing them to do this. Obviously, I've been a cop 44 years. When I first started, it was a lot easier than it is today. It's a lot more dangerous, and I honestly pray every night for our officers that they're safe, and I never want to make that phone call to an officer's family or have to go pick them up. So, you know, hopefully we continue that and we keep our guys and ladies safe. We definitely give them the best equipment we can give them. We give them the best training we can give them. This mayor and council has been nothing but supportive of our department, and we appreciate that. So thank you, Mayor.
We're gonna have to have 2 rows, probably.
I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
I know, but I did that out of order, so I'm going back and adopting the agenda. All in favor of adopting the agenda? I thought I heard a second. Okay, we have a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank
That
you.
is unanimous.
This is also GAWP, Georgia Association of Water Professionals Award Presentation, Mr. Gary McCoy.
Okay, thank you. Okay, first, I would like to thank you for inviting me here to be part of this meeting and to present this prestigious award. My name is Gary McCoy. I am the president-elect for the Georgia Association of Water Professionals. We are an organization of 4,000 members, the largest organization in the state of Georgia, and we are the second largest organization in the nation. So all of your water, wastewater operators, engineers, it's all a part of the GAWP. We are a organization, not for profit, but we actually serve as the liaisons to all the water systems in the state. We was founded in 1932. In over 90 years, we have provided the certifications for the operators, and we actually provide all the necessary equipment you need to be successful. So we are your springboard. So when I was asked to come here, I was honored because your system did something that's pretty amazing. You actually won 3 awards, and I'm not gonna bore you, but I think it's important for everybody to know what these awards is all about. In a water treatment plant and a wastewater treatment plant, there are thousands and thousands of ways you can violate a permit. And you actually, to receive the awards I'm going to present speaks volumes of the men and women, the managers, and the staff you have here with the city of Villa Rica. Facilities that are going to win this award, out of all the facilities, only so many receive this award. So the Gold Award, let me tell you a little bit about this. If you are a water treatment facility, like the Villa Rica Water Treatment Plant, there's thousands of tests you run, and over a length of time, it's so many ways you can violate a permit. It's so many, if an operator is not paying attention, if he put a decimal in the wrong place and he or she submit that permit to the state, they're not going to say it's a mistake. They're going to just say you exceeded that limit, and then you get a violation. The wastewater plants, such as the North and wastewater and West wastewater plants, if they violate any of the permits, overflow in any kind of way, you get that permit and you get that violation and you don't meet your permit. So what the city of Villa Rica wastewater and water plant did was pretty amazing. Your group of people actually went the entire year without a single violation. And like I say, that just doesn't happen. I work with the city of East Point, Georgia. I started with them back in August. 2 weeks before I started, they thought they had a good system, but they violated the permit. And so a lot of big systems in the city violate that. But this speaks volumes for the managers and your employees. So achieving this level of compliance is a team effort, and it do require everybody from operations to maintenance to lab techs to managers. And also, I always have to say this, and I just don't say this to actually make the council feel good and just to bring them in, but without you, it wouldn't be possible, because you actually provide the tools that's necessary to actually make sure that the water and wastewater facilities have what they need to be successful. And as President-elect, I would like to thank you for allowing the Villa Rica to be the part of the GAWP. So, like I say, for the citizens who relies on the water and wastewater facilities to make sure that they actually producing a safe product, and once the safe product is produced from the water treatment plant, then the wastewater plants have to clean it up to make sure they're good stewards of the environment. So it was a total team effort, and like I say, as President-elect, thank you, and I'm proud to present these awards. So I would like to ask the City of Villa Rica Director, Mr. John Bain, managers Aaron Lewis, Jason Waddell, and Eric Bros to please join me on stage right here. By the way, I like McCoy. That's a cool name. Yeah. So I would want to say, so the first award is I'm going to present is the Villa Rica Water Treatment Plant Gold Award. The next award I want to present is the Wastewater Pollution Control, the City of Villa Rica Utility. And the last is the North Sweetwater City of Villa Rica Utility. And as I say, I would love to take a picture with y'all, because this is bragging rights, because when a city wins 3 awards like that, I'm going to tell my system this is what they should be doing. So we're going to follow in your footsteps. So
You want to come
Okay.
up here and do
So-
the picture? Okay. Thank you, Mr. McCoy. Thank you for coming. Years of service recognition, 25 years. Come on up, Tracy. Thank you. Do you have the record? Does anybody beat you?
I don't know. Maybe a few. First off, I just want to thank the city of Villa Rica for recognizing our employees, whether it be 5 years, 10 years, 15, or whatever. And I know some of you council members have witnessed Miss Tara be up here to receive her recognition many, many times before. So thank you for that. So tonight we're here to recognize Tara, honor her and thank her for her 25 years of amazing service for the city of Villa Rica. 25 years ago, she began her tenure with the city as an administrative assistant to Jeff Reese, who was at the time the recreation director. She then moved into the role of administrative manager, interim director, I believe for a period of a year. God bless you. And now her current role of deputy director. She is a certified Parks and Recreation professional. She is and has been most deserving of her upward climb in her leadership role. Tara has seen the city transition through 5 mayors, countless city managers, several recreation directors in her time. With that, she has been able to accept and navigate changes in philosophy, goals, and direction that new leadership can sometimes bring. Her strong character and leadership qualities have helped many Recreation Department employees also accept these challenges, with her showing of steadfast and sincere appreciation of other people, understanding that teamwork and supporting each other is the best approach to success no matter what the situation may be. This encouragement cannot be more appreciated by employees who often seek for that guidance. In a growing recreation environment, Tara is relentless in her ability to keep the train on the tracks. Her unwavering dedication to doing things the right way and in the most efficient way is unmatched. Tara handles many departmental functions, including accounts payable, establishing vendors, processing volunteer background checks, thousands a year, payroll procedures, staff management, and these are only a few of her roles, just to name a few. Her institutional knowledge is incredible. Employees use terms like brainstorm, composure, the glue, compassion, creative, supportive, Wizard of Oz, and kind, just to describe her character. Tara understands a healthy work-family balance is important. Like all of us, life can throw challenges and setbacks at any moment. This lady handles all this with grace, maintaining that strong commitment to getting her job complete professional. Tara is married to her husband, Roy. She said, Roy, she thought it was about 37 years. They have one daughter, Amber, and one grandson, Corbin, and they, along with Miss Joan, Tara's mother, are here to support her tonight, along with some of our employees. So with that, Tara, thank you so much. Congratulations, and we couldn't do it without you.
We are going to move into the public comment portion of the meeting. There was a sign-up sheet as you entered the council chambers. As you come to the podium, please state your name and address for the record and whether you are a city resident or not. Each individual will be given 3 minutes to speak. Those addressing the mayor and council may feel free to speak openly on the matter you wish to bring to our attention, but we do ask that you do so in a respectful manner, refraining from any uncivil discourse. As an elected body, we do not typically engage at that time with questions and answer during public comment. This is your time. However, if your questions or concerns necessitate a response at the staff level, I'll be happy to have the city manager. We'll try to match you up with a staff member that can answer your question for you. As your elected officials, we value the opportunity to hear from citizens and those who have a vested interest in the city. And also, I'd like to mention that at this time, we have 3 items that have public hearings later in the agenda. So if your comment has to do with one of those items, we have, I believe, 2 alcohol licenses and a zoning. If you would reserve your comments for that time, because there will be a public hearing for those items. Dr. Bernice Brooks.
Dr. Brooks, 130 Red Branch, Villa Rica.
And the city limits, yes, ma'am?
It doesn't matter. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I stand to raise an issue that's a subject that's dear to my heart. That issue is homelessness. Homelessness in this city. You have a grand opportunity to begin to resolve or address the concern. This is how you can do it. The old fire station, number 9, that sits over on the bypass, is an ideal place to begin. It is equipped with all of the amenities that one might need to become self-sufficient. For an example, there are beds there, there's a kitchen there, there's a bathroom there, and all of the other facilities. And this will help a small segment to become self-sufficient. I ask that you strongly consider that building as a place for homelessness here in Villa Rica. And I thank you for listening.
Thank you, ma'am. Jennifer, is it Ingram? Ingham?
Jennifer Ingham, 34 Hickory Glen. No, I'm not in the city limits.
Okay, thank you,
but
ma'am.
I border the city limits.
That's fine.
So the things that come before you guys do affect us that live in the county. So I hope that when you make your vote, that you actually think of us that aren't in the city limits and think of what's good for Villa Rica, not just what's good for revenue for the city. That's it.
Thank you, ma'am. Molly Elder.
Good afternoon. My name is Molly Elder, and I represent 127 Cleghorn Street. I would like to make a comment in addition to a request, and that my concern with the status of the traffic over on Cleghorn Anderson Street. It is horrendous. It's to the point where people are having to step out in the street and assist others backing out. And I would like, if possible, for City Council, I know it was stated that response is not given this afternoon, but if possible, a very brief response to let the citizens in that community that are present here tonight that have the same concern to let us know, is anything being done to address the traffic situation? And I know from previous council meetings, it has been mentioned and requested whether or not the city has conducted a traffic impact study in the area. And to my knowledge, on the times that I have attended, it has not been addressed. So if possible, if the city council members could just give us a brief explanation, an update, if anything is being done about the traffic study, in addition to the traffic impact study that we have requested. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Pamela White.
Good evening, Pamela White, 102 Anderson Road, over in the Tad District. I just want to, just say a couple of things to the council. Unchecked power, no matter what holds it, can become a dangerous thing. When there are no boundaries, no accountability, and no transparency, it creates fertile ground for corruption. People begin to make decisions for personal gain rather than public good. And when the community sees those in power acting without oversight, trust erodes. The people start to wonder who's watching the decision makers, who speaks for the citizens. And when those questions go unanswered, confidence in leadership disappears. We've seen throughout history, and even in our city, that power without checks and balances lead to backroom deals, misuse of public funds, and policies that benefit the few at the expense of the many. That's why oversight, transparency, and community input aren't just bureaucratic steps. They are essential to good governance. Trust must be earned, and it starts with accountability. I want to remind this council, the voting council, that you were elected by the people, not appointed by the city government or any private interest. You serve at the will of the community, and your vote should reflect the needs, voices, and values of the people who put you in those seats. We expect transparency, accountability, and above all, a commitment to the people. Good over personal and political agendas. You all were elected. You weren't selected, you were elected. And y'all took an oath to work for the people and not for personal gain. We shouldn't expect nothing less, and you all should raise the bar when you all are faced with situations that hinder you from doing that. You have to stand on right if you have to stand by yourself. When I first came and started speaking at these meetings, there was only two options, and there's still only two options. You can either be on the wrong or right side of history. We will not sit back and watch those that have voted and pushed stuff through. We will not watch you take our neighborhood. We're going to fight you to the very end. Make it right. Council, take back your power. It depends on the five of you.
Thank you, ma'am. Brian Hartley.
Good evening.
Evening.
Brian Hartley, 1016 Dean Drive, Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a non-resident for the city, but I do own property in the city. Thank you all for your time this evening. I just wanted to talk for a moment. I think that the city of Villa Rica has had opportunities for tremendous growth over the many years. And if we go back to developments like Mirror Lake, that was a tremendous decision that I think for most of us, we feel like we reaped the rewards from. I find it interesting today, though, that driving from Atlanta, the place where I got caught in traffic was not in Atlanta. It was getting off the exit at Mirror Lake. as I think about those in my mind, I think about we're recognizing Parks and Recreation and the Water Department today, and there are discussions going on about massive developments within the city of Villa Rica and surrounding municipalities, Douglas, Coweta County. And these developments are huge. In fact, they're so big and so expensive that other municipalities have decided to put moratoriums in place, not to say, hey, we don't want growth, we don't want this in our city. It's more to say, we need the facts, we need the understanding, we need to be able to do something that our residents support, that adjoining property owners can be on board with. And so I would kind of ask City Council to think about that. Think about how big these opportunities are, to do it the right way, not rush decisions, take time so you can do it correctly. We're talking billions of dollars. Billions of dollars will wait 3 months or 6 months or 12 months because we need to make sure that we do these things the right way and we make really informed decisions. As we sit here today, and I don't have any idea how long some of these developments have been in the pipelines, but I do know that my parents are impacted as adjoining property owners, and they have yet to be approached by anybody to say, how can we help you? What would make this work for you? Can we offer you money? We have billions of dollars. None of that has happened. And so I think that this is all moving way too fast. And I think it would be a good time for everybody to take a deep breath, City Council to take a step back and say, hey, we haven't had a moratorium in a long time. Let's take a break. Let's pause. Let's come back in 6 months. Let's have all the information then, and maybe we make the same decisions. Maybe we make different ones, but at least we will have taken the time to get all the information. I thank y'all for your time and your service.
Thank you, sir. Doug Lang. If it's to the hearing, save it for one of the hearings. Yes.
I wasn't planning on speaking, but I just wanted to make another. Doug Lang, 262 South Cowell Road, here in Villa Rica. I just wanted to add a quick comment on the traffic with Cleghorn specifically, because I go down there a lot. And I would say I noticed a couple other things. One is that we're now getting traffic backing up on Bankhead Highway because there's no left turning lane like there is for Connors Road. So for people that don't want to take Connors Road and want to take Cleghorn to I call it Publix Park, I call it Publix, but or Fuqua or whatever. But Bankhead is starting to back up now because there's no left turning lane. Coming from Mirror Lake Connector to Cleghorn, I see people just running those. I think it's a three-way stop or four-way stop. But, coming from Mirror Lake Connector to Cleghorn, they just run right through that stop sign. And then I've noticed the school buses, I don't think there's and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's actually a dedicated bus stop for the children to get off. And, of course, you've got those running the stop signs, speeding, and things like that. So I just wanted to comment that I have seen other traffic things besides, having trouble getting out of your driveway and people coming flying down Cleghorn. Maybe some speed bumps and stuff too. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Alita Farmer.
Good evening, Alita, a farmer, 216 Anderson Road, Villa Rica, Georgia. It is in the city. Council and Mayor, I would like to address a couple of things that I've noticed over the last couple of weeks. The increase in construction that has been handled over there in our area. Some of the disturbance of the noise that is coming from that area. An increase of wildlife in our area. My father saw a fox. I saw a beaver. You're running the animals out of the woods. They don't have nowhere to go but to our homes. So I don't know if that is something that y'all are familiar with, but we are not. Another concern is I noticed the activity on other streets that has not been identified here. There's been people being approached on Myrtle Street. There's been people approached on other streets that is not linked to the Villa Rica Parkway. So for my question here is this. if it's not about the parkway and you're going to all the other streets in our neighborhood, what are you trying to do? It's not about, do you have room for a golf cart? Do you have room for a walking trail? Or do you have a room for a dog area? It seems like it's an extension, it's gentrification of people. Because if you do all of that, what is going to be left to our community? I sit on my father's porch, I be over there often, looking out where my neighbors used to reside. Homes that I used to run across the street from when I was a child. And I see that the familiar part of our neighborhood is no longer existing. I don't know if y'all care. You know, you may not care because you don't, your family home may not mean nothing to you. But we do care. And I have really disturbed by some of the things that I have been seeing. And so I do have some questions. Well, I probably don't have time to ask the questions, but I want y'all to think about this. If it was your family and it was your parents' home that you grew up, would you be okay with somebody running a road through it and discarding it like it was nothing? Now, I know it's people that want to sell, and we have no problem with what other people want. But what we have a problem with is people taking advantage of our elderly people. What we have a problem with is people not doing fair by our community. What we have a problem with is no communication and transparency. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Demita Pritchett.
Demita Pritchett, 392 Darden Street. Just two questions. Can we get an update on the road? Like, since we had that last town hall in October, nothing. And then the second one is, Norfolk gave the city grant for a park in our area. What's up with that? What are you doing with that money? What park are you creating? You've already taken away or sold the basketball court. So what area are you putting a park in our area, and what are you doing with that money? That's all I have to ask.
Brad, I can't tell if it's Hartley. Okay, yes, sir. Alan Martinez. Josh Evans.
Joshua Evans, 640 Cleary Street, Villa Rica, Georgia. Y'all got to bear with me a minute. I ain't so spry these days. I will say this for every young folk in this room and listening at home. Don't never pick up a cigarette. Don't never pick up a vape pen. Don't never do it. Else you'll end up with some problems you don't want later on in life. Much like the city has a lot of problems going on. We have them everywhere. We have a lot of stormwater problems going on. We have a lot of ordinance problems going on with people not following ordinances, codes, water problems, sewage problems. I mean, we are faced upon street problems, sidewalk problems, traffic. I mean, we are faced with a lot of problems here in this city, really. If you just sit back and look at it, we really are. It's the worst I have ever seen this city with the environmental impacts that are going on. This is the worst I've ever seen this place. I ain't never seen it look like this. It sure ain't home where I growed up. I don't know what y'all doing. I have no idea. But whatever it is needs to change because it can't keep going like it's going. We are damaging our wildlife, our wetlands. Look at our pit. Look at over there by Old Stone. Look at that disaster that happened there, and they had to clean it up, right? So I stood up here, well, I sat in here last week, and I listened about the data center land over there and all this. Oh, there's a conservation piece over there. We're going to protect it. We're going to protect. How can you stand up here and tell the citizens y'all going to protect something and y'all can't even protect what you got now? That's clear. That's clean cut. I mean, you got violation after violation happening around here. I was told when I put up a fence that I was in a residential area. It had to be 6 foot. I got a school, plays music. I got I-20 now that I hear because I got a apartment complex that came in above me that we didn't want, that we asked them not to put there. But I got that. So I remember talking to, I believe, Mr. Daniels about this problem I had, and I asked him specifics about what I could do, and he was very educational on it. And I listened, and I followed the ordinances. But for somebody else not to follow ordinance and say they got a special circumstance for noise, you can bet I'm fixing to put an 8-foot tall privacy fence all the way around mine. You can bet on.
Thank you, sir. That's everyone I have on the list for public comment. We'll revert back to the council for council updates. Yes, Councilman McCoy.
This really isn't an update, but Mr. Hartley, I would like to know where you came from in Atlanta because I came from North Druid Hills and it took me 2 hours. I don't know what time you drove, but
I didn't even hit traffic in Douglasville. My last few trips out here is only in Villa Rica. It's the craziest thing ever, and I mean, I'm going to get along with it, but I mean, I know there's been a lot of growth out here, and it just seems like.
well, I just would like to say I came from that same area and I had traffic all the way until I hit Villa Rica. So I wanted to call. I'm not meaning to call you out, but sometimes when something doesn't smell right, you gotta say something, right, guys? Okay. There were some things that were said in public comments that I just wanted to make a few quick comments on. Doug, I do not like the name Fuquay. I like Publix and Old Publix. That's how I refer to the different parking lots. I said I don't necessarily like calling it the Fuquay. I like calling it New Publix and Old Publix. That's how I refer to them. But Fuquay's cool. Fuquay's cool. And then Pam, I liked what you said about transparency, and what you said kind of inspired me to have this update because we do need to be more transparent and say what we're thinking on the time. And then Josh, you're too young to be having these problems, son. But that's mostly what I wanted to say in the public comment because we're all a community here. As I was sitting here and thinking about while we have a lot of growth and we have a lot of stuff going on and we have a lot of people with different interests and different complaints and just different opinions, is that we're still a community, and we still and while we sit up here and we are elected by the people, Pam's absolutely right. We're not appointed, we are elected, that we do have to do what's in our heart and we have to do what's right. But there's so much that doesn't always get put out there for whatever reason because it's a legal reason or something like that. And I try to explain that to my constituents, and sometimes that's very hard to get across. But at the end of the day, I think, and I'm going to speak for myself, but most of my council members, I know very well, I feel like we do what's in the bottom of our heart, and we do what we think's right for not just our wards and the people, but the whole city. And so you may not agree with it. I see y'all shaking your heads. And and again, we all always say, if anybody's lying in our pockets, I'll be more than happy to show you my bank account because it does not look like anybody's lying in my pockets. But we still have to work together, and I'm a big proponent of compromise. There's got to be a way we can all work together and be united. It can't always be this group versus this group, council versus this group, staff versus council, mayor versus staff and council, whatever combination you want to put in. It's time that we all need to just put everything aside and try to work together and try to come with a compromise. So, and oh, there was one more thing from the comments. I do think that I was talking to somebody who was frequenting one of the restaurants downtown, and they live outside the city, but yet they come in here and spend tax dollars in our city. So sometimes, so while I know when we did the whole public comment revamp in our ordinance, is that sometimes I think we might need to go back and rethink whether you need to say you're in the city or you're not. Like Mr. Hartley has parents, people frequent, and they have a vested interest in our city, even though they may not vote or live in the city. So I just wanted to share that. So that is the end of my comment. I was super salty that you did not have traffic, so that's the main reason I spoke. But anyway, that's the end of mine.
Council updates.
Well, I just like to say, I don't know where we are with this connector. But if it's at a standstill or if it's moving on, I think the citizens do need to know where, if we not doing anything right now, or if we at a standstill, they should know that. Or if we moving forward, maybe that would help a little with some of the stuff that's going on, if they can get an update on where we are on that. I know we did the moratorium and so forth, but if we moved a little farther, then maybe getting the word out to the public as to where we are on that, it might help some of the concerns that's going on in the city, and that might help a little bit anyway. So if, I know we know so much, but we don't know everything. But if you could get the word out to the constituents, or to the city, as to where we are with, if we move forward with the construction, then that might help or might ease some of the burden on the citizens.
If you did have a specific question, I noticed on the sign-in sheet, some people do have their phone numbers on, some do not. I tried to write quick notes on those of you that wanted a question back, but if you would make sure the clerk has your phone number, if it was not on here, so that someone can call you from staff in regard to that specific question or concern. And just as an update from the dais, you may have seen these on your way coming in. We were hoping to have someone from the committee here from the GIC, Georgia Initiative for Community Housing. There is a housing fair this Saturday at the Mill Amphitheater just over here, and you may want to pick up one of these so you'll know a little bit about it. And it is to, just try to whether it's affordable housing or people with their power bills or whatever it might be, there will be a number of vendors there with resources and information for our citizens and anyone else that comes in. During the public comment, while we may, unlike, there are some cities and counties that do not allow the people that don't live in the city to speak, we do, because we do understand that what we do in the city impacts those. So while we may ask if you're a constituent of one of us up here, it's still fine with us, and that's the reason why we have people that don't live in the city. We do not cut it off if you do not, because we realize we make decisions that impact people in the county as well. So that's important to us. I'm going to go through the consent agenda. These are all items that we covered during the work session a week ago in the morning, and items that we had unanimous consensus on to put them on the consent agenda. They tend to be items that aren't controversial, and we will vote on them all at one time. So I'll read the list. Item number 1, qualifying dates for the 2025 general election. Number 2, city clerk as the municipal election superintendent. Number 3, the GMA District 4 officers for 2025-26. Item 4, developmental regulations update to require utility availability statements. Number 5, 457, retirement plan changes, that's for our employees. Number 6, facility rental fee increase. Number 7, Advisory Board, Constitution and Bylaws update. Number 8, FY25 budget amendments, number 125 through 150. And that's it for the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Consent agenda is adopted. All right, if council, if you've looked over the April work session minutes and the council minutes, I'll entertain a motion unless there's some changes, modifications. If the minutes are all right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'm sorry, Mayor. So there's one item. Okay, so it's all from one thing. Okay, I make a motion to approve the special call meeting minutes of March. I think it was March the 25th. I'm trying to read them all at once. The April work session minutes and the April council meeting minutes from I think that was a special call meeting as well.
Second.
You good? Okay.
Yep.
We have a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.
That is unanimous.
Item B, Community Development, ABL-05-25, San Andreas, Villa Rica, LCC. This will have a public hearing.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Whitney Cox, Licensing Specialist.
Evening.
The first item is an application for an alcoholic beverage license for San Andreas Villa Rica LLC, located at 103 Villa Rica Parkway, Suite 200. That's in the new Publix shopping center or whatever you want to call it. The applicant, Mr. Robert Trevino, has complied with the ordinance with regards to legal notification requirements, as well as successfully passed the background check with the Villa Rica Police Department. There are no location zoning restrictions that would hinder the issuance of the license, and staff recommends approval.
Is the application just for beer and wine?
It is to sell retail packaged beer and wine, excuse me.
It says distilled spirits on the
Oh, no,
cover
I'm
sheet,
sorry.
so
I got two different.
I think that was wrong.
Yes, no, their intent is to pour as a restaurant, malt beverages, wine, and distilled spirits.
So we'll let you address them both at once. Is the applicant here?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have anything you want to add to that? Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions from council? I'll entertain a motion. Oh, I'm sorry. Public hearing. Is there anyone that wishes to speak for or against this item? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the alcohol license application for San Andreas Villa Rica LLC, located at 103 Villa Rica Parkway, Suite 200, Villa Rica, Georgia.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed?
Motion passes 4-1.
Thank you. Item 2, ABL-06-25, Quick Trip Corporation. This also requires a public hearing.
Okay, this is the second application for an alcoholic beverage license. This is to sell retail packaged malt beverages and wine at the Quick Trip located at 650 Highway 61. Is an existing business that operates as a convenience store with gas pumps, and they are doing a licensee or agent change. Mr. Tucker has complied with the ordinance in regards to legal noticing, and successfully passed the background check conducted by the Villa Rica Police Department, and there are no zoning restrictions that would hinder the issuance of the license. Staff recommends approval.
Council, any questions for staff? Is the applicant here?
Yes. Right.
Would you like to add anything to that? Okay. At this time, Mr. Drummond would,
Public hearing and then.
yes. Is there anyone that wishes to speak for or against this item?
Larry Kors, 115 Maple Valley Drive, Villa Rica, Georgia, 30180, 2757, MOUSE. All right. I come before you tonight only to ask a technical question. I'm for the sale of alcohol. That's fine. If Quick Trip Corporation is coming before us to ask for this agent change, and they are the actual holder of the state alcohol sale permit and the city sale permit, I have nothing to say. I'm fine with it. However, I believe your application says that the agent goes under the name of Roscoe LLC. Roscoe LLC is listed as a domestic limited liability company that was dissolved administratively by the Secretary of State in 2015. If Roscoe is the holder of the alcohol permit issued by the state and issued by the city, he is in violation, I believe. Here again, I do not act as a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer, and I don't play one on TV or here in City Council, except just to ask that this be clarified. Who holds the alcohol permit, what legal entity, and what legal entity is actually coming before you tonight to ask for the alcohol permit? Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak for or against this item?
Well, of course, I'm for whatever business people want to have in the city that's going, I guess, bring revenue or whatever. But I think it's kind of out of order when people try to direct the council as far as to looking into people's license when they have the ability to look on the state website themselves. I feel that some that get up and speak, they are guiding certain individuals to do a certain thing, and that's a concern. It's up to the city council to ask questions. That's what they're here for. So when it's asked, do the council have questions, that's the appropriate time to know what your constituents want. It's not just an individual vote. No matter how small it is, you should know by reaching out to your constituents what they want on every particular item that's on an agenda. That's the reason why we keep moving backwards, because we got something on the agenda, it sound right, it look okay, and then we raise our hands, and then in a couple of months we're in a mess. I think that the constituents on anything that's voted upon, I think the constituents need to know, have some type of avenue set up so that the constituents can reach out and talk with their representative about anything on the agenda, so that
Ms. White, would you
it can be a guide.
direct your comments to the specific thing that we're talking about here?
That
in
it's
regard to
referring to
Quick
that.
Trip.
Listen, Leslie, stop the time, Teresa. Every time I get up here, you want to stop me from speaking.
No, ma'am. No,
But
ma'am.
you need to go over Robert's rules so that you can properly know that just because it's something you don't want to hear, you don't have the right to stop me.
No, ma'am. Would you please direct your comments to the Quick Trip license? That's all. Are you for or against this item?
I told you that when I got up here, Leslie, but every time I get up here, you find a reason to stop me from being able to move forward with what I got to say. But
Mr.
I'm
Drummond?
finished. You don't have to ask Mr. Drummond.
I do, because we're trying to follow Robert's rules, and in this case, our hearing requires that you direct your comments to the item that we're speaking about. That's what the public hearing is for in this section. Would you please continue
Okay.
in
Now, let me
regard
ask
to
you.
Quick
Now, the
Trip?
gentleman that just left, was he specifically about this item? He went into a whole nother spiel. Now, answer my question. Now,
Yes, ma'am. He thought there was a problem with the application.
Okay, so what my thoughts may be a little different, but you're trying to infringe and encroach upon a right that I have.
No, Mom.
But
No, ma'am. Go ahead.
Listen, no. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take my seat, but you need to, you need to learn the rules so you can stop doing what you're doing before you walk the city into some.
Is there anyone that wishes to speak for or against this item with the alcohol license? All right, thank you. Any other questions for staff? Yes.
So in the agenda packet, there is a whole big spill that is available to the public as well that talks about whether or not this premises is in compliance. Ms. Cox, are there any issues as far as the compliance of the alcohol permit for this facility?
No. I'm not sure what Roscoe LLC is. Quick Trip Corporation is an active and compliant corporation licensed through the state of Georgia, through the Secretary of State's office. The Roscoe LLC is simply that, license through the Secretary of State. The local license determines issuance of the state license as far as alcohol goes. So as it stands, whomever was holding the license prior to Mr. Tucker holds it today. As of tomorrow, upon your approval, he will hold the license. The state will issue their license, which will coincide with what ours says. It will list them both, Quick Trip Corporation and Mr. John Tucker.
And just to confirm, I appreciate the explanation on that. Just to confirm, the reason that this is coming back before council is because the licensee has changed, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that because with it coming back before council, and of course, Quick Trip has been at this location for quite a while. Just to clarify for the public, the licensee has changed, which is the reason for this item coming back before council and the public hearing for that. Thank you.
Councilman McCoy?
No, she
You good?
asked them. That's fine.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I move to approve the alcohol license application for Quick Trip Corporation located at 650 Highway 61, Billerica, Georgia.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed?
Motion passes 4-1.
Thank you. Mr. Drummond, would you address the
Yes, if I
two
could-
applicants?
If I could get Mr. Trevino and Mr. Tucker to just stand up front somewhere. Right there's fine. Right where you are is fine. Well, so the city's just approved the issuance of alcohol license to both of your businesses. With that comes responsibility, and I just want to, we do this for everyone that gets a license and hope that it gives you some impression on how serious the city takes this. If you violate any of the city ordinances or state law regarding your alcohol license, that license is going to be taken from you. Do you understand that? And the city takes especially serious the sale of alcohol to minors. So both of you need to make sure that if you're the one selling alcohol, you're checking IDs, and if you've got employees, that you properly train your employees to check IDs. You saw, if you were here at the beginning, you saw a number of officers in this room, and they frequently will use underage people to go in and try to buy alcohol from businesses. If you're caught in one of those operations, you will lose your license and you may be subject to criminal penalties. Do you understand that? Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, community development, item number 3, RA-01-25. Rezoning and annexation for Highway 61 and South Van Wert Avamore PUD. This will also require a public hearing.
Good evening, Council, Madam Mayor. My name is Sean Daniels. I'm the Planning and Zoning Administrator here with the city. And the applicant, Avamore GA LLC, is seeking annexation and rezoning for 2 properties. The first property is located at South Van Wert Road. It is 182.46 acres and is currently zoned agricultural. The second property is 32.06 acres. It is located along Hickory Level Road, and it is currently zoned conservational use. The applicant seeks to rezone these annex properties to a planned unit development, PUD, and also the applicant is proposing to add on the technology overlay district on top of that primary use, or zone. The applicant is also seeking to conduct a parcel split and be able to leave out the residential component for the South Van Wert property, to have that property not be within the city, remain in unincorporated Carroll County. So a little bit of background in this whole area. So in 2018, a applicant that goes by Avamore Project, located at 55 and 63 Goldworth Road, proposed a planned unit development, and they got approved for 200 units, single-family units, 300 multifamily units, as well as a commercial and a senior living entity. In 2020, the applicant proposed and got approved for an increase of 250 residential units, as well as 325 multifamily units. In 2021, the applicant came back and got approved for additional 290 single-family, 55 and up senior living units. The applicant returned each year to extend the project's zoning approvals as well. In September 2024, the applicant came back to the Planning and Zoning Commission to try to do an alteration as well as an extension to the planned unit development to also add the I-2 industrial medium density proposed uses. The Planning and Zoning Commission denied or recommended for denial for that application, and the applicant withdrew. Recently, the City Council did approve the Technology Park Overlay District to be amended within our city ordinance, which has development standards as well as permitted uses. Such permitted uses like a corporate campus, a research and development center, as well as a data processing center. Currently, this property as a whole lacks a use and is undeveloped. The comprehensive plan does prescribe this area as suburban village, which promotes both commercial and residential uses. Some questions were discussed last month in the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding this project's water and power usage, and currently the applicant is undergoing some development agreement with Georgia Power, as well as unincorporated or Carroll County. This site and this development does not have a site plan currently, and currently the staff is recommending for approval with conditions. The first condition is water utilization, sewer capacity, and conveyance are to be agreed upon in the form of a development agreement. The second condition is the residential component must be removed from the planned unit development, and the developer must adhere to the Technology Park Overlay District's permitted uses and development standards. Lastly, the condition that staff recommended is a minimum 100-foot buffer shall be separate the subject properties from all residential zoning districts. Now, last month, the Planning and Zoning Commission did see these 3 items, and they approved it unanimously 4-0. And they also proposed some alternative recommended conditions. The first alternative recommended condition was a 200-foot buffer between the residential properties and properties that have a residence. The second condition is a 300-foot buffer between ground equipment such as generators, noise-emitting devices, and cooling systems, unless the data center building is screened, which is really in between these devices. Third, the structure must be built at least 2 feet above the base flood elevation for the property. The Georgia standard is 1 foot, so the Planning Commission is proposing to double that. Lastly, the Planning and Zoning Commission is proposing a condition to have the applicant conduct a traffic study analysis for the property. Now, staff did receive some comments from Three Rivers, which is our regional commission, from a development agreement, or excuse me, a development regional impact that was submitted. And Mr. Mark Teal, who is our engineer and our interim city community development director, will speak on those comments. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Mark Teal, city engineer. So I have the comments out of the 43-page document from Three Rivers, and I'll briefly go over these. If you have any questions, either myself or the applicant will be able to answer them. So some of the concerns that Three Rivers had, and also would be the Carroll County Chamber of Commerce, Carroll Tomorrow, they were involved, or they had some comments as well in this document. But environmental and water considerations, groundwater recharge area is located on this property. And that they had said Villa Rica is encouraged to evaluate water supply capacity and consider cooling technologies that reduce water consumption due to some data centers' high water demand. Again, a traffic study was mentioned. We will require that during the plan review process. Economic development and land use considerations. I'll just read what was said. So the development is expected to generate significant tax revenue. Research on data center sustainability suggests that on-site solar installations like those proposed in Spalding County's DRI 4425 could help reduce the utility demand and infrastructure strain. As far as architectural, land, and soil considerations, the site is located on prime farmlands as classified by USDA and NRCS. They mentioned possible floodplain and hydrology issues. We will review those during the LDP process, the land disturbance process, and there's also state and federal requirements that are required as well with those. The project is located within the Piedmont and Blue Ridge crystalline rock aquifer system. And then they discussed the wastewater and hazardous materials concerns from the wastewater coming from data centers. We will review those during the permit process as well, once plans submitted. And then stormwater management and conservation, same. And it's not only city regulations, it's state and federal regulations that have to be followed as well as part of the land disturbance process. And that's all I have.
Any questions from council?
I have a question. Mark,
Councilman
could you speak on the aquifer issue?
Yeah, so that the aquifer, which is the Piedmont and Blue Ridge crystalline rock aquifer system, it's saying it ranks second in the nation for domestic drinking water supply. And it runs essentially from Columbus through the state of Georgia, through Atlanta, all the way to Washington, D.C. And it's underground water, groundwater.
So it's like the whole city in that aquifer already, or how, is it just this, is it just kind of vein in through this
No, sir,
property?
This, the entire city.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
Yes, it's wide.
Okay.
So is Three Rivers, with all of that 40-some pages, are they pro or against all of this? Where do they, where do Three
So
Rivers
their
stand?
comments are for your consideration. They're not pro or against. They just provided comments based on the data that was submitted by the applicant. And they were
Okay.
considerations or recommendations.
So
And
one
or
of the
recommendations.
questions that keep coming to me, and I need to know an answer, is about the amount of water. If this is approved, would there be adequate amount of water for this project? And then you mentioned something about there might be a system where the water be reused, like go.
Yes, ma'am, that is a possibility. And no, we have not looked at that yet. Your first question about the water supply, because we don't have the data yet from the applicant.
So you got.
But we will look at it. Yes, ma'am.
You got to get that first before you can.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Teal, would you, though, clarify who would be supplying the water? Because I think that's what citizens of the city
And
might be.
I can address that too. You just approved, part of your consent agenda, a requirement that any project get a utilities availability letter before they get approval. So if water or sewer is not available for any project, it doesn't get permitted. And I was not involved in the initial conversations. I know part of this is in the county, part of it's in the city, so I'm assuming some would be Carroll County Water Authority, some would be City of Villa Rica. But I don't have the answer to that. That's my assumption. One of the recommended conditions is, would require water and sewer capacity and conveyance to be approved by the city in the form of a development agreement. So it could be city water with an agreement that they contribute to the water and sewer system if that's needed. So.
Any other questions for Mr. Teal?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Wormuth.
But we would have a full report of the water capacity prior to, like this, because that's not what we're discussing today. That's not what this vote is for at all. So my question is, so let me try and rephrase it. My question is that when the next step would be to bring to council exactly what their water use would be and how they would provide that, correct?
I'm not sure if we have to bring that to council or not.
As of right now, that should come to council
Yeah.
because nothing has been changed. Is that correct?
I think that's
You
part
would,
of the.
you
sorry.
would ultimately approve any type of development agreement.
Right, that's right.
Yeah, if
Right.
it was in the form of a development agreement, yes.
But then we would have the full oversight, or I'm sorry, a full picture of exactly what the water use would be and how that would be provided.
ma'am.
Because that is a huge
Oh, it is. Yes,
concern
ma'am.
for citizens and making sure that that cost is not associated or passed to the citizens as well.
Yes, ma'am, correct.
Okay.
So what we are doing tonight has to do with the rezoning and annexation. This will be a long process of additional steps along the way that have to meet approvals for the things that are requested and as far as agreements. If it doesn't meet that criteria, then that could be a problem. So this is specifically for the rezoning and annexation. Any other questions for Mr. Teal?
I'm sorry, I'm confused in this. Now, we're voting tonight to rezone some property. Is that right? Is that, okay. So, in the event that,
Sorry, yes, ma'am.
okay, in the event that the rezoning is done and then this project is not approved, where do we stand then?
So their process is to go through, when they revert back, there's a process to revert them back to the prior zoning, but I think that would have to come back. Mr. Drummond can correct me if I'm wrong, but in some places you have to go back to mayor and council for that to happen over a certain amount of time. Or some of them may be automatic, according to the ordinance. I haven't read that part of the ordinance.
If you approve what the applicant's asking you to approve, they're asking you to approve an annexation of 2 parcels and a rezoning of a number of parcels.
Mm-hmm.
So if you approve that, then that's what the zoning is for those parcels. And certain things are allowed in those zonings. I mean, they want to put a data center in there, but if that doesn't work, there are other uses that would be allowed within that zoning. If they want to put something in there that's not allowed by that zoning, then I would anticipate you see another application at some point in time asking for another rezoning of the property.
Oh, so if we rezone it, we re-annex it or however, and then the project is not approved, then they are in a place where they can put something else there. Is that what you say?
Yeah. I mean, the Technology Park Overlay District allows certain things other than data
that's
centers.
what I'm saying.
That's right.
Something else can be put there.
That's right.
But it have to come in compliance with the zoning in that particular area.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Teal.
Thank you.
So listen, before we bring the applicant up, just so this will be clear, is the way we're going to do this is there'll be 10 minutes allowed for the applicant to give their presentation. If the applicant decides to use 7 minutes of that and save 3 minutes of it for the rebuttal, that's what you can do. But it'll be a total of 10 minutes. And there'll be 10 minutes allowed to a public hearing for those that either for it, and then a separate 10 minutes for those that might want to speak against this. And then there'll be an opportunity for council and myself, we can bring staff or the applicant back up and ask additional questions. So that's kind of the way it will work, and that's how we keep it balanced so that it's even for both sides as to those that are pro and con. So at this point, I think we'll. Yes, sir. This is our policy we're following. It's pretty consistent with cities and counties around us, and I know it's hard, but what I would request of those when we do get to the public hearing is that you have your thoughts organized, jot yourself a couple notes if you haven't already, and try to be brief so that we can allow the opportunity for as many people to speak as possible. So if we can have the applicant come up and begin your presentation, and that may answer some questions. And if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself when whoever comes up and is presenting. Thank you, sir.
All right, good evening. I'm Brandon Bowen, 15 South Public Square, Cartersville, Georgia. Good to be with you again. I'm representing the property owner and the developer, which is Atlas Development, LLC. As you know, we're here to ask for approval that would allow for a data center. And I'm going to try to jump right into it. But I know it seems like to you, you've been talking about this a long time, but we're early in this process, okay? This is zoning and that's it. If the zoning is approved by this council, then the next round is extensive engineering on this property. It's going to involve understanding how buildings might fit there, okay? It's going to involve wetlands review. It will involve cultural and archaeological review as part of that process. And ultimately, it will culminate, we expect, in a site plan. And that site plan is what we intend to do, what the developer intends to do. And then that will come back to you, because that site plan will be used to determine how much water is needed to operate the system. And we'll be asking for that from the city or the county water authority. And that would be part of a development agreement. And, you know, it's kind of a given, but if you and the county don't wish to provide the amount of water that's asked for, then you're not going to provide it. That's just how it goes. But we don't think that will be a problem. And to Ms. Marchman, to go to one of the questions you asked, is whether or not recycling is possible. Absolutely it is. And using gray water is something that we would actively try to do because it's more economically efficient. It's also cheaper. There's a lot of good reasons to do it. So that's one of something we would certainly plan to do, and that is something we would address in the development stage and hopefully have in the development agreement as it comes to you down the road. I'm going to look at the conditions that were proposed by staff and by the Planning Commission. As far as the conditions recommended by staff, we're in full agreement. First is, as we just said, water, sewer, all to be addressed in a development agreement to be approved by the city, and that would be the city council. Second, the residential components of the existing PUD go away. We're in agreement with that. And as part of that same condition, any development out there will be subject to the requirements of your technology overlay district, which you recently adopted. The third is a minimum 100-foot vegetative setback, excuse me, I'm going to be careful to not use interchangeably the words buffer and setback. The request was, or the recommendation was a 100-foot vegetative buffer, which we agreed to. The second set of conditions came from the Planning Commission, and we're pretty much in agreement with those, but there are a few nuances that I want to address. Next one being, and going back to that, the nuance between buffer and setback. So that the Planning Commission said 200 feet from any residentially zoned or used lots. We can agree to a 200-foot setback from any residentially or used lots, okay, but not a 200-foot buffer. And the reason is because a buffer that big is going to push us too far into the area we already see will have water impacts. So we can commit to not have a data center building within 200 feet of residential lots. But we need to have some space between that 200-foot setback line and that 100-foot buffer line to be able to do site work. Okay, so I wanted to be clear about that, and I put that in our proposed conditions that we submitted. The next thing, the Planning Commission recommended that all the generators and HVAC equipment be at least 300 feet or screened from buildings. And that very well may be the case for the most part. But it's possible that there would be spots where there's equipment that cannot be 300 feet away or screened by the buildings. And what we would say is if that's the case, we'll make sure that it's fully screened so it's not visible from surrounding properties or the public rights of way. And of course, all of the property, wherever it's located, is subject to the requirements of your noise ordinance, which are already in the code. So we don't think that'll be a problem. We just can't commit that the screening would be done by a building. It may have to be something we construct. The next condition was there was a request for the base elevation of buildings to be at least 2 feet above the base flood. That's fine. And the last was that their traffic study would be performed prior to the land disturbance permit phase, and we're fine with that. That we would expect that. So that said, I would like, unless you have a question for me to answer right now, I'd like to reserve the remainder of my time for rebuttal.
Actually, that's not taken out of your time if there's questions from council. So we can call you back up after the public hearing at that time and do any additional questions.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Madam Mayor, may I speak? My name is Jefferson Allen. I'm an attorney, and I represent 11 of the neighboring homeowners that are in opposition. There's a pending legal action, so I would try to be as brief as possible, acknowledging that there are many other people to speak, but I speak on behalf of 11.
Okay, just give me a moment here. So what we will do now, you've reserved the time you need for rebuttal. We can also call you back up for additional questions or concerns that may be asked by the governing body. So then we will begin now 10 minutes of anyone in opposition against this proposal for rezoning and annexation, and then you can. And so.
Madam Mayor, is this a point of order issue with this? Or, I mean, because he is an attorney, is this part of the public hearing, or is this? What would the point of order be in this?
This is part of the public hearing.
Yes.
So I think this might make it shorter, I'm not sure, but sounds like he's gonna present on behalf of a number of people, but
Okay.
it goes toward the time.
And I was asking for clarification before we begin. This 10 minutes is for both the question of the rezoning and the annexation?
Correct.
Okay, they're not being considered separately, because it seemed like the discussion from the staff member was only towards the rezoning, not mentioning the annexation, but it's in the package, and just trying to be clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. As I said, my name is Jefferson Allen. I represent a group of 11 residents: Dylan Cook, Daniel Christner, Paulina Christner, Paul Cutler, Karen Hartley, Brad Hartley, Antonis Height, Sherrod Johnson, Greg Surratt, Clint
Sir,
Reeves, and John.
He's asking me to move the mic down so
and
they
John
can hear.
Ve- and John
Thank
Vega.
you.
I'm going to try and be as brief as I possibly can and leave some time for others that I'm not representing. There are a variety of reasons that we would urge the council to reject this petition for rezoning and for annexation. They're both technical and substantive reasons. The first technical reason is that both the rezoning and annexation are still subject to a current pending legal challenge in the Superior Court of Carroll County. After the city took prior action through a vote on January 14th, 2025, within 30 days, on behalf of my clients, we filed an action challenging that action. It was filed on February 10th, 2025. The city answered and denied the claims. On March 13th, 2025, the city filed a motion to dismiss. On March 28th, 2025, we filed our motion in response to the motion to dismiss on April 30th, 2025. What we are saying is there is a pending legal action related to the validity of the prior rezoning and annexation action that was taken by this council on January 14th, 2025. This council should not be taking any further action related to a new application for exactly the same property. There is a, pursuant to OCGA 3666 5.1, judicial review of zoning decisions, it states an appeal or challenge by an opponent filed pursuant to this chapter shall stay all legal proceedings in furtherance of the action appealed from or challenged unless the local government officer, board, or agency from which the appeal or challenge is taken certifies that by reasons of the facts stated in the certificate, a stay would cause immediate peril to life or property. So what we're saying is, under the Georgia statute, because there's a pending legal action against this, until that action is dismissed, the council should not take any further action. The council, to my knowledge, has not taken any action to withdraw the prior approval of the rezoning or the annexation that was done in January. The second point that we would raise is that technically the notice before this hearing does not comply with the minimum 15 days law. This meeting was moved from its originally scheduled date of April 28th to May 13th. The notice for this meeting was not published in the local organ until April 29th. When you count the number of days, you count the first day. You do not count the first day, the 29th. You start counting on the 30th until today, the 13th. It's 14 days. The OCGA 3666-4 requires a minimum of at least 15 days prior notice from the newspaper advertisement before this board takes any action. There's further an improper parcel split in the proposal for the annexation. As part of the lawsuit, we raised the issue that before there was an attempted carve-out of a section where, and it was mentioned here, there was a residence from part of the land that was to be annexed, and that land was to remain as part of Carroll County. That would have created an impermissible island belonging to Carroll County, completely surrounded by the city of Villa Rica, that is specifically prohibited by the state zoning regulations that allowed this type of annexation, which is being done by pursuant to 100% of the owners. It specifically provides that 363620A2 states the entire parcel or parcels of real property owned by the person seeking annexation is being annexed, provided, however, that lots shall not be subdivided in an effort to evade the requirements of this paragraph. The application before you for the annexation is specifically attempting to create a subdivision of one of the parcels that is currently owned by Avermore to delete from the parcel that's owned by Avermore part of the parcel and have that not be part of the annexation so that that would remain as part of Carroll County. That action is specifically prohibited by OCGA 363620A2. That was part of the prior challenge. It would be part of a future challenge if the current annexation proposal is allowed. There's an additional issue related to the rezoning, which is that the rezoning application, specifically with regard to parcel V07014151, is a parcel that is subject to a conservation easement and cannot be changed. I was just in communication with the owner of that conservation easement today, the Georgia-Alabama Land Trust. They have received no notice or information about this proposed application because that parcel, it is the 16-acre parcel, it is part of the application, and that is the tax parcel number, is subject to a conservation easement such that there shall be no development of that property. And therefore, we would submit that it is improper to include that within the rezoning that is going to put that 16-acre parcel as part of the Technology Park Overlay District, which is part of the current application. If the board moves forward, if the city council moves forward with it, you are allowing a portion that is part of, subject to a conservation easement, to be rezoned. I'll briefly finish. I think we've touched on these issues, that there has been no site plan provided. There is no identification of the water use that would be required for this. They're asking this council to say, trust us, we'll make sure everything complies in the future. But the citizens of Villa Rica may not have the same obligation to object to individual development applications as they do to this rezoning. This is a serious enough issue that we respectfully submit that the council should not grant this rezoning and certainly not grant this application unless and until you've seen a development plan. For whatever reason, the prior interim city manager gave an allowance that they did not need to provide that for this application, but you would be putting the cart before the horse. You're risking the case of rezoning a 400-acre parcel for something based on a project that might be completely impermissible and impossible, and then the city could be in a position in a year or two where you feel forced to enter this development agreement for the relation of water because somebody has all of that land money invested. I apologize for how quickly I had to go through this. I'm trying to be
Would you stop the
considerate
clock?
of others. I'm
So,
trying to be
thank you,
considerate
sir.
of others as best I can. But the key is, thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions if the council has them.
Thank you, sir.
Can I yield like any time I might have had to this gentleman?
No, we really can't. Is there someone else that wishes to speak against this item of the annexation and rezoning?
My name is Brad Hartley. I live at 2367 South Van Wert Road. And this property that is being asked to rezone is right across the street from me. I've been in my home for 50 years, and I don't want to walk out my front door and see a big industrial building. You know, I planted hundreds of trees on my property. I've got just about 9 acres. And I don't know what the plan is, but it would just simply destroy, you know, the property that I have enjoyed for this many years.
Good evening. My name is Paul Cutler. I live at 27 Hickory Glen here in Villa Rica, Georgia, just outside the city limits on South Van Wert. I've talked with 50 people up and down South Van Wert. We don't want it. very briefly, Councilor Bowen brought up sewage, he brought up water. There's enough data centers out there, they know how much water it's going to take. They know what the sewer is going to be. It's going to overload the system. They haven't talked about the water treatment side of it, which involves halogenated compounds, such as bromide for the water treatment. The folks at the water treatment plant, they don't have any NOVs. They work very hard to make sure they don't get any NOVs. When you flood that plant with a lot of water, it's going to end up in the little Tallapoosa River. And the people down in Carrollton, I think they like their drinking water very good and clean, but that's where it's going to end up. Mr. Bowen brought it up. I'm saying it's not there. You don't have the sewage capacity, you don't have the sewer lines, you don't have the water. You're buying 80% of your water outside of Villa Rica. You're selling something to these people that you don't have. That's water. They're going to go outside the city limits to get their water, and it's going to put a very serious demand on the tax-paying residents that are going to be on the hook for sewer lines, treatment lines, and whatever impact there is on the Little Tallapoosa River. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone that would like to use 16 seconds?
Real quick.
Yes, sir.
Carroll County resident.
Right up to the mic.
Carroll County resident, 30 years. I've been off South End work 2 decades. I know you talked about compromise. There's no compromise where a data center works for us there. It's just crazy. I think that's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Clerk, if you'll reset the clock. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the annexation and rezoning?
Good evening, Mayor.
Evening.
City Council. It's good to be here again. I'm Scott Cowart, Superintendent of Carroll County Schools, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the proposed zoning and annexation request. I also serve as a member of the TAD Joint Committee that was established between the City of Villa Rica, the county, and the school system over a year and a half ago. And as a part of that committee, our job is to review any potential development that comes in front of you. We have no ability to make a recommendation other than to say that from our perspective, we found it to be a good recommendation if the Planning and Zoning Committee also agreed with that. And from what I hear, Planning and Zoning is recommending approval of this zoning and annexation. And so on behalf of the TAD Joint Committee, I can speak that that would also be something that we would support from that committee's perspective. From the school system's perspective, as I mentioned last time I was here, we look at this as a positive because it would reduce potentially 900 residential units coming into our community that would put a different kind of strain on our utility systems and infrastructure systems. We've heard comments about the strain of potentially what could come with a data center, but there's also strains that would come with additional housing of that number. So this would be a positive, in our opinion, to look at this type of development rather than additional residential units at this time in Villa Rica. Additionally, it will be less traffic on our highways, and it will help you as a city have some options, I think, available to you as you look to improve your utility situation. These type of developments usually work very well with their communities and looking to solve issues around utilities and be a support to the community in how they go about doing that. That's through a lot of research that we've done in looking at the different entities who try to build and develop these projects. So from our perspective, this would be something that we would support. We hope the city will strongly recommend or consider the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Committee and what they've done, the good work they've done. And I do want to commend the City Council and all the people that are involved in the planning and zoning for taking the time that you've taken to go back and reconsider, rethink, reflect on, is this a good thing for this community, what it means. I think it shows due diligence on your part that you've done that and will continue to look to do that, and the ability that you have moving forward in each of the permitting processes to continually be able to review and approve what's going to happen. So tonight would only be changing the zoning and annexation. You would still have the ability to have your footprint on other decisions as it came forward. So again, thank you for what you do. We appreciate you, and hope that you will consider approving this recommendation.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of the annexation and rezoning?
I'm Alan Martinez. I own a business here in town and have for 22 years, own property. I live in the county, not in the city, but I've operated my business here for a long time. And I've raised a bunch of children through the system. Scott and I've known him for a long time. Graduated 5 from Villa Rica High School, and I'm very proud of the city. And I hear a lot of people talk about, you know, wanting to maintain our small town feel. And, you know, as much as everybody, I love growing up in a small, or raising my kids in a small town. But growth is coming. It's coming whether we plan for it or we don't plan for it. Atlanta is expanding, and we're on I-20. We're on a major corridor. It's coming our way. I want to be on the forefront of how it comes, how it happens. Something, you know, I'm certainly in favor of a project that produces high-paying jobs, that doesn't put a dramatic strain on public safety, on our school systems, provides tax revenue for significant opportunity for the city as well. I feel like, you know, our city has a lot of opportunity facing it as well as a lot of challenges. It's not without, one doesn't come without the other. So we have a chance, I think, to mitigate how the growth happens, to enhance quite honestly, the quality of life for the entire city, and add to the opportunities that exist. If you walk around downtown, you know, we've just gotten Gabe's back, which was a big win, I think, for the city. But before that, there were a lot of open buildings, a lot of empty businesses. We need, in order to survive, we need business. We need revenue, and quite honestly, we need a quality of life. That comes with the revenue generation that businesses bring. And I submit, we want to, you know, we would really like to stay away from manufacturing. And we have enough big trucks coming through town right now. I've heard a lot of traffic concerns and things like that. I couldn't agree more. A center like this, you know, provides a lot of opportunity and revenue without so much of the constraints that some of the other types of facilities that could go in. As Scott mentioned, 800 or 900 homes that could go there. If you multiply that out, the number of kids that would be added to our school systems, we couldn't support it. And you want to talk about water usage and water opportunities, wastewater, that would be a dramatic effect as well. So I would hope that the council would take into all the considerations that this project potentially brings for the city. There are no perfect solutions, but there are best case scenarios. This offers a good number of best case scenarios. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of this item? All right, we'll close the public hearing and revert back to the applicant if you'd like to use the remainder of your time for your rebuttal. Or answer questions, whatever, your time.
All right, I will be brief. One, I want to say that I want to be respectful of people in opposition. However, as a bit of legalese, I have to say that there's not been any showing of standing. So I want to put that on the record. I'm not going to talk about the lawsuit.
Can you hear him? Yeah, we're good.
Okay, I'll step up to the mic a little bit more. I'm not going to speak about the lawsuit. Mr. Drummond is here, Mr. Fowler, they are the attorneys of record in the lawsuit. What I would say is that no injunction has been entered, anything stopping this council from operating. And I also want to say this, in Georgia, the power to zone is placed directly in the city council. It's not in the court system, it's in the city council. It's not in the state government. It's in the city council and the boards of commissioners. So even if that lawsuit resulted in a complete reversal of the final decisions made before, all the judge would be able to do is send it right back to you to make a decision, because our Constitution gives this council the authority to make the zoning decision that's before you. And I think it's properly before you. Question comes up, what if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't work? What if they get out there and they do all this engineering and there's hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of engineering that would be next? What if it shows it's not going to work? What if there's not enough water or sewer capacity? Who's taking that risk? The developer is taking that risk. They're the one that will be out that money, and they're the one that will not have any use on the property unless they come back to this city council and present another use which you find acceptable. So that's not something that the city council should be concerned about. That's not a city risk. You know, I usually start my presentation with this next bit. I'm going to finish with it, okay? First time I ever heard about data center was, I live in Cartersville. I practice in Cartersville. I had someone come up to us, a company come up and say, we'd like to bring a data center to Cartersville. And they showed me a picture of where it was. And I said, all right, well, there's two things you have to do. One, you have to tell me what a data center is, because I had no idea. I had never heard of it before in my life. And two, you've got to convince me this is good for my community, because the picture they showed of where they wanted to put this had my house on it. I live right beside it. They didn't know that. They were able to convince me that it was great for Cartersville. And it's a similar situation. We had a large piece of property that was already approved for a lot of development, and instead of being that lot of residential development burdening our school system, not generating a lot of taxes, generating a lot of infrastructure requirements, they're going to put in a data center that's going to generate few children, virtually no traffic, and tremendous amounts of tax revenue. They were able to convince me that they could do that without being any kind of negative detriment to our community. We were able to convince our city council of that. They approved it unanimously, and it's under construction right now. I think it's going to be a great thing for Cartersville, and I think this project is going to be a very good thing for Villa Rica. Thank you for having me here. Yes, sir.
Or revert back to the council so that if you want to ask questions of staff or of the applicant. Yes, Councilman Carter.
My question is to our city attorney, Mr. Drummond. You heard the other attorney bring up some issues. I would like you to address those, please.
Yeah, and we are addressing issues in a court proceeding. So what's been filed in court is a petition for review, which applies to quasi-judicial decisions. And council, I'm not sure how technical y'all want me to get, because this gets pretty technical.
We need to know.
Quasi-judicial decisions, there are some zoning decisions that are quasi-judicial. OCGA 36-66-34E is what deals with quasi-judicial decisions. However, and that is what's subject to a petition for review. OCGA 36-66-5.1 are zoning decisions, states that zoning decisions are legislative in nature, and annexations are under 36-66-34D, or that's zoning cases that are associated with an annexation. Those are legislative decisions, not quasi-judicial, and stays apply to quasi-judicial or legal proceedings, not legislative decisions. So it's my opinion this is a legislative decision. Annexations are always legislative decisions, so you have the authority to proceed. The carve-out, what the applicant's asking to do is not really a carve-out, and what they are doing has already been tested in court, and that's permissible. So I don't see a legal issue there.
Okay, thank you.
And he also raised notice decision issue. What's required under state law is one, properly noticed hearing. In Villa Rica, we don't have one hearing, we have two hearings. So we go beyond what the state law requires. We have a hearing before Planning and Zoning Commission. We have a second hearing here We're not required to do that, but that's what we do.
Well, one thing that the
Oh,
gentleman,
excuse me, one second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Councilman McCoy.
go ahead. One thing that the attorney was saying about the notices, the 14 days or 15 days, is that was ours sent out at the correct time or the
I'd
correct
have to have
time?
staff answer when notices were, but we have to have one properly noticed hearing for it to be illegal to pass the Zoning Procedures Act, which is what we're bound to follow.
So it was followed in the correct 15 days.
Yeah, for sure, the first one, for sure. I think this has been noticed 3 times, to be honest. I mean, it was noticed for, planning and zoning notice for a second hearing that got continued for the regional impact, and then re-noticed for today.
I just want us to be in compliance. So if you said we did, we did.
Councilman McCoy, is this for the attorney, or do we need to bring staff?
Mr. Drummond.
Mr. Drummond, okay.
I think. I think it might be Mark. Let me ask it and y'all tell me. This whole parcel has been coming up year after year for rezoning because dirt wasn't moved. And as y'all are describing this process, that sounds very laborious. Is that still adequate once we do the rezoning? If dirt's not moved, they come back every year and get it?
No,
What's the difference? I'm in my head, explain to me what was the difference.
previously with Avamore, this council put a condition that they come back and report to you every year.
Okay.
That was a condition with the prior owner of Avamore. That is not a normal condition.
Okay. That's what I want to know.
There are permits. I mean, if they got a land disturbance permit and they didn't act on that in a certain amount of time, those permits do expire. But as far as coming back before this body, that was a condition that this body put on that applicant.
Okay.
Yes, Councilman Warmoth.
This island that's mentioned, can you go into as much detail on that or give an explanation on that that you can?
The application that I've looked at, the legal description would not create an island. They are not annexing in the lower portion of what was the Tolbert property. It's now Avamore property. So there is a portion, maybe you can scroll back up a little bit. Back to the picture, just the picture. So you see that pond there, and there's right above you see a pond next to the road. And then there's a house below the pond. So there's a line somewhere between that pond and the lake that is not being annexed in. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So that remains county, and there's no island there.
Why, I'm confused as to why that's remaining county, because on this plat, it's not showing that.
Yeah, it is on the application.
So I used to hear this word spot zoning. Is that not spot
Hold up,
zoning?
Ms. Marchman.
Okay.
Are you finished?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
So,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hang
no,
on.
you're good. So this will remain in the county?
You'll see, are you looking at, I don't know what you're looking at.
I'm looking at that.
Yeah. Yeah, the line is not on that. I was just using that to tell you. If you go through the application, there is an exhibit.
Is it the one with the blue outline?
Well, there's actually a survey in the packet.
I see it. It's the one with the blue line you said? Or that's what you said?
They're moving to annex in tracks 2 and 3. And track 2 goes just below that lake.
And this coming back before council, you had mentioned that that was a stipulation that was put on the Avamore for for it to come back each year. Is that a stipulation that is still a requirement that is still part of this? That was no? Okay. I think I'm done for now.
Councilman Marchman.
I've lost my throat now. Maybe it'll come back to me.
That happens to me a lot. Sorry. Any questions for staff or the applicant? I'm going to give another minute if you have a question for staff or for the applicant, and otherwise we'll move to a motion.
No. I have one more question. Was an impact study ever done when this was zoned as the PUD with residential and commercial?
I believe there was a regional impact study years ago. Mr. Montmahan was,
I don't remember.
No.
I don't remember.
I'm
probably
fairly,
was,
I'm fairly
but-
certain there was in the original Avamore application years ago. I know there was because it was referenced in the current one.
And then the next step would be to have that study done, is what I heard from the applicant, correct?
What study are you talking about?
The impact study.
Oh, the
That's
traffic
happened.
impact study.
That has happened.
The traffic or the,
Water sewer.
oh,
Can you use the mic? I'm sorry.
Mr. Bowen, correct? Okay. At the mic.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Brandon Bowen. So the next step after approval, assuming approval, would be then to do the engineering to determine how the system would be built, how the data center would be built, what kind of usage of utilities would be needed, and then once that is completed, then that would result in a site plan which would be brought back to the council.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, development agreement, I said, yeah.
And I'll just say for the governing body's sake, once we get a motion and a second, we will still have discussion at that point, and if there's something you want to say in regard to that, that would be a good time. You know, if it's even other than question, if you have a comment or any of your concerns you want to express, we can do that during that discussion time. Obviously, this is something that's going to, even whether it's a yay or nay, if it's a yay, it still has, that's annexation and zoning. There are many steps ahead, including traffic studies and whether certain utilities can be provided or not. Each one of those steps have to be approved. Yes, Councilman Momtahan.
I had a question for Kevin. So I just wanted to make sure,
I'm sorry.
what is the proper procedure? Is it to consider the zoning and then the annexation, or is it then considered the annexation and then the zoning?
it's a good
On a
question.
motion.
And I think you asked that question last time. So
Right.
the way I've been taught, and we've had this conversation with the applicants also, is typically you would vote on consider the rezoning first, because if you deny the rezoning, then the applicant would typically want to withdraw their annexation application, right?
Makes sense.
So, in this case, the attorney that you heard from that's made a challenge says we did it wrong. So I don't mind if you consider the annexation first, and I've prepared, the applicant may pipe in on this, but unless they object, then you could consider the annexation first, and then the rezoning, and I've updated the proposed motions if you're headed that direction.
Well, on the cover sheets, we have it, the motions regarding as rezoning first and then an annexation, so I didn't know if it needed to be flipped.
I flipped it in my proposal here.
Okay, maybe I don't have your proposal.
You don't, because I just prepared it.
Ah, I got you, okay.
So we would have to flip it on our cover sheet.
So,
I would give it to, if someone is inclined to make that motion, I would give them an outline of a proposed motion.
so you're saying we should annex first and then rezone, contrary to what is showing here, shows rezoning first. Okay.
If people are complaining about the order that we did things, I mean, there's different ways of skinning that cat. I mean, but that's one way.
Okay, well, guess we'll make a motion. I'll make the motion here on the annexation piece first.
Do you want me to read what I've updated and see if that?
You can, that's fine.
So if the motion's to approve the.
Yes, that's correct.
So I would treat this in three different motions. The first two would be motions regarding the annexation. The first would be I move to approve the annexation of application for parcel 1680090 into the city of Villa Rica.
So moved.
I'll second that motion. That's the first motion.
So you don't have to address those other, you're going to break it into three pieces. So, okay, so that's the first one. Okay. All in favor? Any opposed?
Motion for annexation passes 4-1.
Second motion would be I move to approve the annexation application for the requested portions of parcel 1680120 into the city of Villa Rica.
Wait a minute, do that again.
I move to approve the annexation application for the requested portions of parcel 1680120 into the city of Villa Rica.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Was there a discussion point?
Does that take care of all the annexation?
Well, is there a point of order and you want discussion?
Point of order and discussion, yes.
Okay.
It's gotten a little confusing with flipping them, breaking down into three different sections. So
I did not vote
if-
either way, so.
There
I
was a
will,
motion and a second, so now we're in discussion.
Okay, all right. I was gonna say, do I need to withdraw the motion, but we'll just kind of, okay, go ahead, sorry.
You want to withdraw the motion?
No, we'll.
There's a
Kevin's
motion
got
and a
it cleared
second,
out.
now we're
Okay,
into
all right.
discussion.
Discussion. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Councilman Warmoth.
I want to make it very clear that this is not something that is an easy decision, and I know that there's been a lot of discussion about we are not listening to citizens in Villa Rica, and that's not the case. Okay. This is my time to speak. We have listened to other people. We have heard both sides. There are people who are very much against it. There are people who are very much for it. Some of the comments that have been brought forth have been that that people would much rather have this than the potential of apartments and whatnot with the PUD. This is not we can just leave it as it is. That's not the option that's on the table here. So I'm not sure that is understood. I moved to Villa Rica for the simple fact of the small town feel. That's not what we have anymore all the way around. You know, there was mention earlier about with construction and the wildlife that is disturbed from that. And that is being felt all over the city of Villa Rica right now with the construction that is going on. We do not have the same small town feel. It's growing. We don't have a choice but to grow, and it's a matter of how we want to grow. Again, the citizens that I've spoken with have mentioned being in favor of this over apartments. And I am up here to represent my constituents. That is what I'm here for. And that's what I'm doing my best to bring forth to you tonight. But again, this is not something that is an easy decision. I mean, I'm being yelled at right now by multiple people in the audience. I understand this is not an easy seat to sit in. I understand that. I ran for election here for this purpose, not for being fussed at from the audience, but for the purpose of making difficult decisions. But I just wanted to point out that Villa Rica is growing, and it's a matter of how we're going to grow.
I just want to say I concur with that.
Councilman
Unfortunately, you know, well, for better or worse, we're in Villa Rica, is a growing city, and we're all of us, I think, you know, have to deal with kind of the symptoms or the consequences of that growth. Myself, you know, I live around the corner of a concrete plant. I can hear the beeping and the buzzing when I take my dogs out. You know, I can hear the buzz of I-20. I can hear the cars driving down 78 with a little wind-up noise, the pop, 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 all the way down. They were there, yeah. So what wasn't there was the crossdock or the truck parking facility that they're building across the street down the road, or the build-to-rent community also that I hear every morning. Liquor store that's proposed across the street from the church that I can see through the woods, that's not there yet, but it's coming, yep.
Mr.
Right.
Williams, Mr.
But-
Williams, let's not
So they
engage
were
with
all
the
there.
audience.
They weren't
Right.
there and they were there. So nevertheless, it's just one of the unfortunate facts of life. If you live in Villa Rica, you're living in an area that's right on I-20 in one of the states that's the fastest growing, or excuse me, the most best state to do business. And there's consequences of that too. We can live in the best state to do business off the interstate, or we can live in a community. We can live in a state that, like Mississippi or somewhere like that, where they have low economic resources and no growth. So that's all. I just want to say that as well. Thank you.
Councilman McCoy.
To piggyback on to both Stephanie and Matthew is that, yes, these are not easy decisions. I don't like sitting here making them. I have sat all day in my office having anxiety and not eating about this, but at the end of the day, that's why we sit in these seats, is to make these decisions. And it's unfortunate and it's not fun, but we do it, and I've said that multiple times, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But to go piggyback on to what Matthew said, I grew up in an area with no growth, a very low economic, no high-paying jobs whatsoever. My mom lives in the same house they brought me home from the hospital in, and I can walk out to that driveway, and you know what I see? The exact same thing I saw when they brought me home from the hospital. It has chased growth out of the area. It's not even a city. They don't even have a postal code. It has chased growth out of that area. She used to have a local grocery store, but no, it got taken over by Walmart. My mom cannot go to, like, when she comes visits me, she's so grateful because she can go to Ingles in 15 minutes. She can go to Publix in 10. I understand where everybody's coming from, and that's why it's hard to sit in this seat. But I understand kind of what Matthew was saying. I have lived in an area with no growth. It sounds all great and good that we don't want anything coming, but then when it actually happens 40, 50, 60 years down the road, I'm not going to lie, when I go home, it gets kind of depressing. And it's just very frustrating when you see something with so much potential and no one wants to go there because no one's selling any land or there's not demographics to support it. So, and the other thing I was going to say is, like Stephanie said, no matter what we put in there, no one's going to be happy. No one wants, the school system won't be happy if we put homes and apartments. If we put apartments, a lot of people aren't going to be happy because how many people sit up there in public comment or when we're doing a variance that say, oh no, we don't need any more apartments. We have had enough. No matter what, if we put heavy industrial in there, no one's going to be happy. This is literally a no-win situation, and we're doing the best we can with what we have.
Councilman Carter.
Point of order, do we need to revote that? We voted and then we had discussion, now we got to revote?
That's right. We're at the point now where there's a motion and a second. So once discussion's over, it's time for a vote.
Okay, so is there anyone on council that wishes to have further discussion in this part? I was going to save my remarks till we got to the rezoning, but I would like to share as well because while it's a difficult decision, I would tell you this is what I care about. When evaluating this situation, it would be, will it benefit our community as a whole? That's one of the questions I asked. That's not enough, though. Will it benefit the community as a whole is a very good thing. But something else I also ask myself is, how will it impact the citizens that live near there? And that's why we had colleagues that traveled to data centers to experience what it's like to even be near one. What is the noise level to evaluate those type of things, because it was very important to me. And there's people sitting in this room that know that I'm depending on them when I asked, will the people that live in the county and Charleston Place, will they be able to walk out of their homes and still maintain their quality of life? So number one was, will it benefit the community as a whole? Number two was, how will it impact the people nearby? And that's why we still have these additional steps, whether we're talking about buffers, landscape, noise control, everything else, to try to make sure that this is a benefit to us. Let me just say this. Landfills, we may not want them in our backyard, but they have to go somewhere. We may talk about data centers, but I'll tell you right now, most of the people in this room, including myself and those up here, are using what is the reason the data centers are growing. Facebook stores 250 billion photos. Google processes 3.5 billion requests a day. There are medical technologies that require the storage that these data centers have. The reason they are coming is because we are living the life that requires them. What used to be roads and power lines and everything else in that physical network is now done in our life every day on that phone you pick up because of data centers. The economic development will allow us, if it occurs, if all these processes work out in the approval process, so that we don't want it to be a detriment even on paying higher bills for power. There are processes in place and those questions are being asked. We do not want this put on our backs as consumers for the power required. There's state legislation to look into for that, and also the public service commissioners who are up for a vote, who also will be a part of that process. So let me just say this in closing. There are ways that when you do economic development with certain types of businesses, that rather than having more demand on your police, more demand on your public safety, and more demand on your schools, and vice versa, they actually help fund your schools, your public services, your infrastructure projects, and in some cases, it allows municipalities to build roads and do infrastructure they would not have the money for elsewise, and also require of the developer to do things that will help us for our community with that infrastructure that we so desperately need in the water and sewer area. I think council had discussion. I'm finished, so that closes discussion for that particular item. Mr. Drummond, how do we need to back up on that, or can we go ahead and?
There's a motion and a second, and we just need a vote.
Okay, we have two parts to the annexation. We're going to combine them as one annexation.
Well, you voted on the first one, and then we've had discussion on the second motion.
Okay.
You're going to have to, you may have to
need to move to call
verbalize
the
the
question?
motion again.
The motion-
Because there was 1680090, which was the Hickory Level Road part.
Yeah, that was approved, and then the motion that's on the table now is I move to approve the annexation application for the requested portions of parcel 1680120 into the city of Villarica.
168 or 169?
Wait a second, I don't have another 168.
Sorry.
There's two 169s.
Let me double check the application.
Yeah, we had a 1680090, and now we got a 1690120.
It is 1690120.
Okay.
And that's the motion on the table, Kevin? So
Yes.
we don't need to rephrase the motion?
The motion is, I move to approve the annexation application for the requested portions of parcel 1690120 into the city of Villarica.
Okay. And I already made that motion. Danny has seconded it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed?
I did.
Yes, all in favor? All in favor?
All in favor?
Any opposed? Okay. We have one parcel left in that
That
motion.
is unanimous.
Thank you.
The third motion is the rezoning.
Is this rezoning when it's in here, is it accurate?
Did 1690120, that's the South Van Wert Road, there's two sections of South Van Wert. Is that one? Okay.
We voted on both at the same
Oh, I see, it was in there twice, I see. All right,
All right.
rezoning.
What I suggest for the rezoning is I move to approve the rezoning of parcels 1680090, V070140003, V070140004, V070140151, and that portion of parcel 1690120 annexed into the city of Villarica to PUD with technology park overlay and subject to the following conditions. First is water utilization, sewer capacity, and conveyance must be approved by the city and are agreed upon with the city in the form of a development agreement. Number two, residential components of the PUD must be removed and all affected properties must adhere to the technology park overlay district. Number three, a minimum of 100-foot buffer yard shall separate properties from all residential zoning. Number four, a 200-foot setback for data center buildings. Number five, generators, noise emitting devices, and cooling systems will be screened or behind structures when they'll be behind buildings, or if not behind buildings, they will be screened. Structures will be built at least 2 feet above the base flood elevation for the property, and final a traffic study to be completed at the LDP stage.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed?
That is unanimous.
Finance, Ms. Hallman. Item C, 1.
Would you like me to wait?
Yeah, just a moment. We're going to wait a minute or two while people are exiting, so we'll be able to concentrate and hear the finance director and interim city manager, CFO and interim. Ms. Hallman.
Okay, I'll try to make this quick. This is the financial update as of March 2025. We'll start off with cash. We have about 47.7 million compared to 51.4 in total cash. You can see general fund is up from 15.9 to 15.9 from 13 million. Water and sewer is around 5 million. You can see our East Side TAD bond proceeds are at 8.9 million. Our East Side TAD debt service is at 477,000. Then our 2015 Carroll Splost is dwindling. We only have about 37,000 remaining in that fund. Due to the 2021 Carroll Splost has 6.5 million. Our old 2016 Douglas Splost is at 2.5 million. So that's dwindling down, and we're receiving SPLOST proceeds from the 2022 Douglas SPLOST, so we're sitting at around 4 million at the end of March. Our residential permits and taps, through March of 2025, we've had 198 building permits that generated 442,000 in revenue, 165 water and sewer taps. We received 247,500 and 660,000 respectively. Local option sales tax, our Carroll County sales tax had a 1.1% increase for the month of March of $205,675. We did have a decrease in Douglas County sales tax, but around 10%. I think that's an anomaly because what we've collected in April is back up to trending around 2 to 5% increase. Property taxes, you can see we budgeted 5.9. We've collected almost 5.8, so we're at 97% collection. One of our enterprise funds is our business activity water and sewer fund. We've collected 6.3 million in revenue, and we've had about 6.7 in expenditures. The largest difference between the expenditures from March of 2024 to this year has been in our water expenses due to buying and purchasing additional water from Carroll County, as well as the rate renegotiation that we had earlier this year. Our next business activity enterprise fund is our sanitation and solid waste. Through March of this year, we've collected 915,000. We've had total expenses of 851,000. So we actually have a net income so far of just under 64,000. Our self-funded insurance, our bank balance as of the end of March is almost 1.8 million. And For 6 months into the year, you can see our total savings of $197,000, which consists of contributions of $1.3 million, with expenses only being $1.1 million. And that is it.
Any questions for Ms. Holman from council? Thank you. Mr. Drummond, would you instruct on the reason why we are going into executive session?
Yes. There should be a motion to go into executive session for two reasons. The first is to discuss the contract to purchase, dispose of, or lease real estate. And the second, to discuss or deliberate upon the appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, disciplinary action, or dismissal, or periodic evaluation or rating of a public officer or employee as provided in OCGA 50-14-3B2.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Motion is second. All in favor? Any opposed? to move out of executive session and reconvene for regular session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? No. Mr. Drummond.
All right. Here in executive session, we had several discussions that I think will result in motions. I'll start with the personnel motions. We had discussed, and I would ask for a motion. We'd already named Jennifer Halm as the interim city manager. We did not address her pay at the time we did that. So there would be a motion to approve a $1,500 a week raise to Jennifer Hallman while she is serving as interim city manager effective May 1st.
Make that motion.
Second.
We discussed naming, so a motion to make John Bain as interim deputy city manager effective today, or May 1st, effective May 1st, with a pay increase effective May 1st of $1,000 weekly.
Do we
Make
need,
that
wait, we need to
motion.
vote on Jennifer's motion, though?
We can,
Oh,
are
we
we,
got
are
all
we
one?
putting these two together?
I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead. I told you I was tired and delirious.
You gonna put them all at one time?
No, let's
Okay.
treat them separately. So let's go ahead and deal with.
The first one? Okay, I made the motion, he seconded.
All in favor? Any opposed?
That is unanimous.
Okay.
The second one is naming John Bain as interim deputy city manager with an increase of pay $1,000 weekly while he serves in that position.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
And the third is to make Amanda Long as interim finance director with a pay increase of $500 weekly while she's serving in that role.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
All right.
It's unanimous.
Next is the real estate discussions. There'd be a motion to approve the purchase of parcel V050150024 in the amount of $390,000
I'll make,
with a $4,200 relocation.
Plus the 4,200 relocation.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Next would be a motion to purchase V050150049 for $15,000.
Make the motion.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
The next would be to
Unanimous.
purchase parcel V050150081 for $26,000.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
And final,
It's unanimous.
to Mr. Teal here. Yes, sir. Can you come here for a second? Okay. And the next is to pay for easements for parcel V050170002 in the amount of $6,490.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Unanimous.
And that was all.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Oh, hold up. Yes.
Darn.
Yes, we did. Let me- Did we do that? So there's 5 total. Let me get the parcel number. And I'm sorry, there was one more. To purchase parcel V050150075 for $35,000.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
No, we can go
All
with
in
that.
favor?